Hi everyone, today I will show you how to play my arrangement of Bright Eyes by Art Garfunkel. A few quick pointers. There are no special techniques required to play the song. Most of it is centered around basic open chords. You will need a few bar chords in the chorus as well, and the guitar is in standard tuning, so no need to retune or detune your guitar. You will also see me sometimes playing bass notes with the thumb. This is something I picked up learning Tommy Emmanuel songs, but it is not really necessary. It's just a habit of mine. You can always change the fingering to play the bass notes with some other finger instead of the thumb, if that feels easier for you. As you might have noticed in the beginning of the video while playing the intro, I have also changed a few things, especially in the intro, to make the arrangement a lot more accessible to intermediate players. So most of the arrangement, if you have some fingerstyle experience, isn't actually that hard. Like I already said, it's mostly based around open chords and bar chords. But my original arrangement, as I put up on YouTube, in that arrangement the intro is actually quite technical with a lot of harmonics going on. So that's why I went back and I rearranged the intro so that it would be playable in a much more traditional manner. For those of you that want to give the intro with the harmonics a try, I will completely explain the harder version of the intro at the end of the video. So if you want, I'll see you back there. So let's get to work. Let's start with the intro. We're starting out with a basic or even partial G chord. So we're starting out with 3rd fret on the low E string, 3rd fret on the B string, and that's it. So we're going to play this partial B chord with the high D in the melody. Then changing the bass note to F sharp, 2nd fret on the D string, and we're adding the second part of the melody and sliding up to the 5th fret with the pinky. High A, so 5th fret on the E string. F sharp, 2nd fret on the high E string, hammering on and pulling off to a G. So from F sharp to G, 3rd fret, and back to the F sharp. And then we're moving over to a bar, a B minor 7th chord. Over to C chord, hammering on to the 2nd fret, hammering on to the 1st fret, and then ending with the well-known flourish at the end of the intro. Then you have to change the fingering. Was mistaken there, sorry. So you come down from the C chord, and then to the middle finger for the low G. That is necessary to play the next melody. Slow for that melody part. Actually need all 4 fingers except for the thumb to play that last part. So let's go over the whole intro really slowly. This part will come back a few times and will serve as the interlude as well. The interlude and the intro are almost exactly the same, except for a little melodic variation at the end of the interlude, but I'll show you that as well. On to the first verse. We're gonna start again with a G chord. This time we only need the low G, so 3rd fret on the low E string. All the other strings are open. We're starting out with an open B string as melody, and we will be adding the pinky on the 3rd fret right away as the 2nd melody note. And then we are moving over to a C chord, but we are keeping the low G in the bass. So we're not moving over to the 2nd string, we are keeping the low G in the bass. To the C chord, and back to the G chord. One more time for you. Second fret on the low E string, moving over to an open E. And then together with the open E string, we are going to slide on the D string, starting from the 2nd, maybe even the 4th fret, up to the 5th fret. 2 open strings, G string and B string. Moving down to the 4th fret, and then to a regular C chord. And back to the same G chord we used in the beginning. So let's go over that whole part really slowly. Then, next part, we're moving over to a D chord, but we're going to start with nothing but open strings. So the D string and the G string will be played open, and we'll be hammering on straight away to the 2nd fret. 3rd fret on the A string for the bass note. That part might actually be trickier than it sounds. You're playing triplets in the melody and you're playing straight 8th or quarter notes in the bass. This will take some getting used to. This is what it sounds like. So that's trickier than it sounds. Now there is a way around it as well. If you find it confusing to get this into the fingers, you can also move over the bass line into triplets, and if you play it on your own without any accompaniment like we're doing it right now, it actually sounds fine. It sounds like this. Nothing wrong with that. So now we are playing bass notes and melody notes at the same time. So the original version. Triplets in the melody and quarter and 8 notes in the bass. And now just everything together as triplets. So if you find this easier, feel free to use that version as well. Just going to move that C chord up 2 frets to this D chord with a few open strings in between. And then we're going to play on the 12th fret 2 natural harmonics on the A string and the D string. And we're going to use a little open string run. open E string, 3rd fret on the B string, 5th fret on the G string, open B string, so we get this harp-like movement of over the strings, and then to the 2nd fret on the G string, open G string, hammer on, or just playing the 2nd fret again. So this is the whole open string run. And we're back to the verse, the second part of the verse. So one time up to speed. Straight into the second part of the verse. Second part of the verse is mostly the same as the first part of the verse, so only the ending of the verse is different this first time and the second time around. At this point, everything was exactly the same as the first time. Now we're moving into new territory. So from the C chord, we're going to move over to a B7 chord. This is a bit of a strange chord, so I'm going to go over the fingering for you. So an open low E string, 4th fret on the A string, 2nd fret on the D string, 3rd fret on the G string. So what you get is this is a G chord with a D in the bass, so we're only playing the middle finger on the 5th fret of the A string over to a D7 chord and back to the G chord. So starting from the C chord, in the G chord, so hammering on to the 3rd fret and ending up on the high G string. That's the whole fill. Really slow. And there we are. That's the whole verse. Good news is, the second verse is exactly the same as the first verse. Save for one little tiny detail, but I'll get to that as soon as we clear the chorus as well. That's the next part. So the chorus starts out with a bar chord on the 7th fret. So you got the upbeat, the first few notes of the melody, and then a B minor chord fretted at the 7th fret. Then I take a slightly smaller bar, and this is one of those times when I will fret the bass note with the thumb. You can play it as well with the middle finger, but you will have to rearrange some of the fingerings as well. So this is what it sounds like. That's the next part already. So for that C chord, I'm using my thumb to play the bass note, and I will hammer on from the bar at the 7th fret to the 8th fret and the 9th fret. And then I will do exactly the same, one set of strings higher. Could also play it with the middle finger fretting the bass note. Feels feels a bit strange for me since I'm always used to playing this bass note with the thumb, but it is perfectly possible. And then we end up on a D sus4 chord with an open D in the bass. Another little open string run. So the first bar we were playing on the 7th fret, a high B, pulling off to the 5th fret. Again to the open D bass, the open D bass string. Then 7th fret on the B string, open E string, 7th fret on the G string. Again, you get that sort of harpy overlapping of the notes, so F sharp, E, D, without having to stop any of those notes ringing out. And we're ending up on a D sus2 chord, way down in open position again. So this is what it sounds like all combined. So that's the whole run. Chorus, same fill as we just played on the C chord, and back to the same B minor chord. Same chord, but with a slightly different take on the melody. Just hit that last chord 2 times. And to an A minor or an A fifth chord. And in this part I try to mimic the sliding strings of the original, so you're going to be moving over the whole neck, trying to simulate those string slides you can hear in the original recording. So to an A sus2 chord, bottom of the neck. Same fingering on the 5th fret. If you play the whole run together, you get and then we're moving up to the last part of the chorus, which is this little run with an ascending bass note. You get this 7th fret on the high E and B string, and the 6th fret on the low A string. This is basically a part of an E minor chord, 7th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret. Melody up on the 10th fret in the pinky. Back to the same C chord we used before. And this is the hardest part. All the way up to the 12th fret. Now, if this isn't possible while keeping down the bass note, just let it go for a second. Sounds perfectly good as well. If you have large hands, you can hold on to that bass note all the way while putting up the melody on the 12th fret. But if it's not possible, you just let go as soon as the melody moves over. And it sounds perfectly fine. We are going to close down the chorus with an A minor bar chord. A minor, open D string in the bass, and then pulling off from the 8th fret to the the 7th fret, 10th fret, A note on the B string, and then a little natural harmonic on the G string. And then from there on, you would launch straight back into the intro with a little twist at the end. Now I'm just gonna play that last chorus one time again for you really slowly so you can really check everything out. From there on, if you end up there, we're going to straight back into the intro with a little twist at the end. So up until that point, everything is exactly the same. Now it actually gets easier. We're just going to play a hammer-on to the 2nd fret on the G string, straight into a C chord. So, I'm sorry, what I usually play is straight into the C chord, open B string, 1st fret, 3rd fret on the top, just to create this little movement in the chord. Same thing. 2 times hammer on the G string, the 2nd fret, and back to a G chord. That concludes the interlude. So one time again, really slowly. So that's the interlude. From the interlude, it's straight into the 2nd verse. 2nd verse is almost identical to the 1st verse, except for one small detail. I'll stop right when we arrive at the correct spot. This is the part where we are only going to add one single note. Instead of playing only the high D note as a melody note, we are going to add a 3rd below that. So we are going to add a B note as well underneath. It sounds like this. That time I am changing to a regular C chord and not a C chord with a G in the bass. So this is the this is how we start the 2nd part of the 2nd verse. So and then from there on, exactly the same as the first time. to the second chorus. Second chorus is identical to the first chorus, except for the fact that we are going to play this one twice. So it's just a double chorus, and the outro is exactly the same as the first interlude. So. Same fill to launch into the second, to the repeat of the chorus. Let's call it. Straight into what we already played as the interlude. So that was the whole arrangement of Bright Eyes. Now you probably noticed that if you play it in this manner, both the intro, the verse and the chorus are actually quite doable. If you have some experience in fingerstyle guitar, this shouldn't prove too difficult. Now let's have a quick look at the original intro with the use of harmonics. So the intro is a mixture of artificial and natural harmonics. So the natural harmonics are on the 12th, 7th and 5th fret, but we're also using a lot of artificial harmonics where we are going to mirror the left hand into the right hand and always pluck 12 frets higher the melody notes with the right hand. If you haven't done this before, this will probably be a bit too difficult to start out with, so we will be looking at other songs in the future. But for those of you who are familiar with the technique for artificial harmonics, let's have a quick look. So we're starting out with low G, same as we did in the other intro, 3rd fret on the low E string, and we are playing a harmonic on the 7th fret of the G string. This slide is, to me, one of the most recognizable things in the original recording, so that's why I really wanted to include it. What makes this hard is you are constantly arpeggiating strings around the G string, so you can leave this harmonic to ring out as long as possible. If you're playing it in a slower tempo, this probably won't ring out throughout the whole 2 bars, but you have a good guitar and you play the piece up to tempo, this should last you long enough to end up all the way to the end of the 2nd bar. So. Note is still there. Can you hear it? Still there. See? So that's what we're going for. So don't try to touch that G string in any way. Even the lightest touch will ruin the effect. So then we're going to end up in the same descending bass note as we saw earlier. So and that's the point where we will be transferring from natural harmonics to artificial harmonics. over to the high E string, 5th fret, and 12th fret. And we're always, if we're not playing a harmonics, we are always arpeggiating the chord to keep some accompaniment moving down below. Then 7th fret up here, 19th fret up here, and we are going to bend the harmonic. And back down. And then we're moving over to the same B minor 7th chord we saw earlier, but now we're going to play the A note as a harmonic. And we're arpeggiating again around the string where we play the harmonic on. Another little trick is playing the harmonic on an open string and then hammering on. This doesn't make the second note sound exactly like a harmonic, but in the flow of the song it actually goes by quite unnoticed. And then the last part. First time with the easy version of the intro. So let's play the whole intro really slowly. That's the whole intro using the artificial harmonics. There is a second option as well. You can make it a bit simpler, but the notes bleed out a bit more. I mostly play it in this fashion, but you could also play this. And then play the next part completely in natural harmonic. 7th fret on the G string, 12th fret on the high E, 7th fret on the B string, and then 5th fret on the G string. And then moving over to the same thing we saw in the other version. So that's a possibility as well. And then moving over to this part. So that's a thing you can try as well. Maybe that feels easier for you. There's only one thing left, that's taking a quick look at the interlude using the harmonics, but it's easier than the intro itself. So if you come down from the chorus, we're going to use the same hammering on trick. We're going to play a harmonic at the 12th fret, hammering on to the 2nd fret, and doing exactly the same. And again. That's how you should play the interlude and the ending of the song. So that's the whole arrangement, including all the harmonic tricks you need to play the intro as I did on my original YouTube recording. I hope you have fun with the arrangement, and please check back. I'm trying to do more tutorial videos. It takes a lot of work. Let me know if there's anything you would like to see that's on the channel, and see you soon. Bye.